The Tomb of Annihilation will not only introduce lots of strange monsters from D&D's past, but one new monster, which is now one of my favorites, that Chris Perkins made himself.
There are some monsters that were a bit harder to deal with.
Like the Zorbo from the Monster Manual 2, which is this magic-destroying koala bear.
Really angry koala.
Things like the Sioux monster from the original Monster Manual, which is a psionic baboon, basically, that mind blasts you and then tears you to pieces with its claws.
There's the Almirage, I think it is, which is basically a unicorn bunny. You know, they're very silly monsters.
The unicorn bunny, or the bunnycorn, or whatever you want to call it, is a monster called an Almirage, and they first appeared in the first edition Fiend Folio. And they are literally just bunnies with spiral horns coming out of their heads. In some later editions, like 4th edition, weird powers were given to them to make them more interesting. But I decided to take them back to their roots and just make them a bunny with a horn. And that way, you can have them as pets and familiars. Some of them are very weird, like they're just weird plants, like the Triflower Frond and the Man-Trap from the Monster Manual 2. The Triflower Frond originally appeared in Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, which is an unusual adventure.
Really, it was just, these are things that Chris Perkins, was like, hey, we could do this. I was like, yeah, we could do that. And he could just take it and run with it. And it's something that he could very easily incorporate with the way that he designed the adventure.
And then weird other Fiend Folio monsters like the Kamadan, which is basically a leopard with snakes coming out of its shoulders. I did not create any of these. All I did was bring them forward.
One of the things about these creatures, the Zorbo and the Almirage and so on, is that they were such goofy monsters for so long that people really didn't use them as anything other than just a sort of random goofy element. So there wouldn't necessarily be a lot of lore built upon, the Almirage populations in the mountains of blah, blah, blah and Faerun, right? Like that wasn't a big deal.
There are a lot of people who weren't born in 1978 when Tomb of Horrors came out, and there are a lot of D&D players who have never played that adventure. But now that Tomb of Annihilation's out, I think it's pretty clear that people can have conversations about a Sararak that are cross-generational. That's part of the reason why nostalgia is so heartwarming to me, is because it does create stories and conversations among D&D players across different generations. At the same time, there are a couple spooky or offbeat new monsters like the Chewinga, which I created. A Chewinga is a elemental spirit that lives in flowers or rivers or rocks or plants of other kinds. And they have a neat little look to them. They're benign, so they're not the type of monster you would go around and kill. And they've got some unusual abilities that no other monsters in the game has. And they're perfect for Chult. I think and they show up all over the place too. Yeah. And actually there was a discussion we had internally about should they be Fae or should they be elementals? And I decided that I and Jeremy Crawford decided that there really should be elementals because of the nature of their powers and where they live and what they do. Okay. But they do look Fae-like. Yeah. 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 I think I feel like, and I don't know this for sure, when you're designing monsters, you never know what sort of traction a monster is going to get. I've designed many, many monsters for many, many previous editions, and most of those monsters nobody uses, or they never caught on. For every Gith Yankee, there's the Senmerv or the Turlin or a bunch of other monsters that nobody's ever heard about.
Gith Yankee did get to be on the Fiend Folio cover.
Well, yes. Maybe Slotty is a better example. But in any event, whenever I design a new monster, it's with the goal or the hope that it will catch on and get play and survive for future editions, but you never know. I have a feeling that a lot of gamers are going to have Almirage companions by the end of the Tomb of Annihilation story, because you can actually domesticate them in the adventure, or you can buy them. They're caught and they're sold. So flying monkeys, I think, will also be very popular.